first one. Alright, so I thought before we start talking about Kahoot, maybe get you guys who play Kahoot. Just to show you a trick, if like, so for example, you set up a Kahoot in your classroom and then some student enter like some like inappropriate name. For example, I think my year 9 really like to use Mike Hunt as their name. And so what you can do is, as you know, whoever set it up, you can actually delete names. So if I put my cursor around it, you can actually delete the name of the student. So if they enter something inappropriate, you'd be like, nah, that's not good enough. And you just press that and it will delete that person out of the game. And normally I will set up like a time for them to play the game. Like I will say, you have 1 minute to set up to enter the game. If you miss out that 1 minute duration, then you miss out the game, obviously.
A few moments later.
So obviously you can see the scoreboard and you can end the quiz. And Joe obviously got 8 correct and 1 incorrect. Now, before I move any further, you can actually click feedback and results. So if I click feedback and results, people can actually give rating. So the kids, so on your computer, you can actually put rating. You can say, oh, recommend learning or feeling not good or something like that. Yep, so for example like that. Now, I'm just going to click the final result over here.
It says 1 to 5, how full is it? Is 1 the best or is 5 the best?
I think 5 is the best, I would assume. Well, yeah, I think, yeah, it doesn't say that. I never really come to this screen, I don't really stop here. But the thing is, you can actually download the result. So if you download result, I'll show you guys what happens if you download result. So it will actually give you an Excel spreadsheet of the results, and you can use this to see what they got right or wrong. So if you guys have a look, so all your name is here. It tells you how many correct answers your students have answered, how many incorrect, whether they got it right or not, what answer did they choose. The problem with this is that if your student used nickname, then there's no way in the world you will know that that person is, like for example, if someone used like swag, you wouldn't know who that student is, unless you know who it is and you put like next to it say just swag. If all your students enter the correct name, you can technically import this into Schoology. Technically, but I've never done it before. But the problem is that every time I play Kahoot, all my students just use random nickname. So it's really hard to tell which one is which. But if you set up rules and say if you use your actual name, you can actually record down the result and it will be on the spreadsheet. Any questions so far? Okay, we can have another game at the end of this, but I thought I'll show you guys how to actually set up Kahoot. Okay, so I'm just gonna log off my thing first, and I'll show you. I'll just go through step by step. All you have to do with Kahoot is you just type in getkahoot.com. So getkahoot.com and press enter, and you will come to this web page. Okay, it will say Kahoot. Great learning starts by asking great questions. You guys can set up free account. Even your students can set up free accounts. So all you have to do is press get free account and enter your little profiles, or for example. So I can say that I'm a teacher. I can say I'm from Howard College. And I can just set up my account details, so your username, email, and password, okay? So everything is free with Kahoot. I even got my students to sign up because I'll tell you guys one thing that's pretty cool when your students sign up for Kahoot. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign into my Kahoot. So once you guys have registered yourself, you should have this screen that looks like this. So this is what it looks like, Kahoot, once you sign up into Kahoot. Now, in order to create new Kahoot, there are 3 options you can do with Kahoot. You can do quiz, discussion, and survey. I never really used discussion and survey, so I played around yesterday. But basically survey, it's the same setup as Kahoot, but you do it as a survey. So you see how many people choose which option they wanted to choose. Discussion, you only can create 1 question or 1 discussion questions, and they choose the answers, only 1, okay? But with the quiz, you can set up as many quiz questions you want, like the one that we just played for. So I'm going to focus mainly on the quiz. If you guys got any problem with discussion and survey, we can talk about it after we're done with quiz. So all you have to do to create new Kahoot is you press the quiz button, and it will tell you to enter your quiz name. So I'm going to enter, say, year 12 biology with a little thing called meiosis, right? And once you select your quiz name, you just have to press go, and it will go to question 1 on the quiz, okay? So that's over here. So on the top bit here is your question. You have to answer, you can enter your question here. And by the way, there's only 95 words that you can enter, okay? If your question is too long, it will start showing these negative, like -10 or whatever, depending on how many words you enter. And when you want to press add question or save and continue, it will say your question is too long and you cannot continue with the question. So
words or characters?
characters. So each character will take 1 away. Yep, it's characters. Yep. So even space count as a character as well. So if you see I press space, it will went from 93 to 92. Okay. So your questions have to limit it to 95 characters overall. Okay. So that's the part over there. You can actually do, for those people, the maths teachers, you can actually do symbols as well. So you can just, all you have to do is when you put your cursor there, it will pop up this little screen here. You can either bold your text italic, you can add superscript, is it superscript and subscripts? And you can also add Latin or any symbols that you want to add. So Latin, currency, math, Greek, and arrows if you want, so chemistry as well if you want to use those. So all you have to do is enter the question. So say what is independent assortment? Okay, and question mark. And I spelled assortment wrong. I'm just going to print that. And you can go down here. Now, in the middle bit here, you can actually add images, okay? So you can drag and drop an image from your desktop. So if you already got a desktop image somewhere, you can actually drag and drop. You can also choose a file, but you cannot actually get the image from online. You can't actually enter the online URL to get the image. So if you find an image from Google, you might have to save the image first, then choose the file. Okay, so that's part of the image. So if you want to add image to your Kahoot, you can do that. Another thing you can do is video. So just on top of it here, you can actually enter videos. At the moment, I believe they only support YouTube videos, and you have to enter the ID. So let me show you guys what is mean by ID. So I'm going to go to YouTube.
Can you snip an image into it?
You have to save that. Well, once you snip it, you have to save the image as a file, unfortunately, for Kahoot, yeah. So if I go to, say, I want to watch this, okay, and I'm just going to pause it. The ID is this part over here. So after the equal sign, if you guys can see, that is the ID for the YouTube video. So if I select that, and I go copy, and I go back to my Kahoot questions, that's where I enter my ID. And you can also set when you want to start the video. If you don't want to, if you only want to watch a portion of your video, enter how many seconds it is and when does it end, okay? Or if you set 00, it will play the whole video. Okay.
Stanley, I'm
Yes.
on Internet Explorer and it's saying it won't upload images. Do I need to use Google Chrome as a web browser for that to happen?
I would. So you mean in the Kahoot, is it?
Yeah, in Kahoot it says doesn't support image uploads with this browser, but upgrade to a newer.
Yeah, you probably have to
browser.
use.
So Google Chrome.
Yeah, Google Chrome or Firefox. Yes. I think some of the Internet Explorer is an older version of it, so they might not support this function. But yeah, So YouTube video, you can put YouTube video in the question if you want, but it's purely up to you guys. I normally do images, but sometimes if I don't have time, I wouldn't even add image. Okay. Moving down, those are the answers you can have. So answer 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can have maximums of 4 answers. Okay. You can have less than 4 answers. All you have to do is go press this negative sign over here. If you press this negative sign here, it gets rid of one of the answers. Okay, and you can press it again. I think minimum you need to have at least 2 choices. Yeah. So you can have answer 1 and answer 2. Sometimes you can set true or false questions. So if it's a true or false question, you can have true and false. But maximum amount of answers you need will be, well, you can have a 4. Okay. So I'm gonna just type 1, 2, just for example 4. Okay. And you also have to choose which answer is correct. So for example, 3 is correct. I'm going to press that incorrect button to make it correct. If sometimes your questions have more than 1 correct answer, you can set multiple correct answers. So you can press, so 4 is correct as well. I can press 4 is correct as well. Any questions? Cool. Oh, and also, your question can be a point or no point question. I don't know maybe if you just want to be a practice and you can set it as a no point questions. You can also set the time limit. So standard for mine is set to 20, but if it's a really hard question that you want to give them a lot of time to do, you can set up to 120 seconds for each question. Or if you want it to be really short and really quick, you can set 5 seconds. So it depends on how kind you want to.
Assume those numbers are the number of characters you got left out.
Which one? Oh yes, correct. As well. Yep. For the correct answer, you got number of characters as well. Yes. Thank you for that. I forgot to mention that. So total you have 60 characters for the answer.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I was talking to Kirsty about the limitation of Kahoot. Technically, you can have longer questions if you want. What you can do is that you can actually snip like your Word document or the questions you want and put it as an image. So instead of writing up there, you can say, oh, look at the image and answer the question. So instead of, you have to type everything out up here, you can have an image of your questions, and that can actually, bypass the limitations of the characters that you can have for a question. So that's another way to do it. So, cool. Can I move on? Yep, okay. Cool. So basically, if you want to add questions, you just press the add question button, and then we'll go to question 2, okay? So you can add as many questions you want. I'm not sure about the limitation. I have set up a quiz with 30 questions before, but just bear in mind that 30 questions does take a while, and sometimes kids will get really annoyed by it. They sort of just lose interest after 10 questions. So 10 questions is normally my limit. You can set up to 15 if you want to set as a revision thing, but it's purely up to you guys. Now I'm just going to quickly go through the save function. So I can go to, I'll set up another question. So what is crossing over? And I'm just going to type here. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to choose the correct answer. And I'm going to press save and continue. Now, when you come to the save and continue, there's a couple of things you can do. You can actually adjust which question goes up. So if you want crossing over to be the first question instead of independent assortment, all you have to do is drag these 3 little 3 lines. Just press your mouse button, your left mouse button, and you can drag it up. And another thing you can do in this screen is that you can actually edit your title as well. So if you think your title is wrong, you can actually edit it. But I'm just going to leave it as that. And sorry, Mr. Martins, keep on. And that is it for this screen. Everybody's happy? Yeah?
Yep.
Cool. Save and continue. Now, here's the part that you can choose your difficulty level, your privacy setting, and primary audience. Normally, I set my privacy setting as public, and there's a reason to it, and I will tell you guys really soon. So I set it public. If you want your quiz to be private, you can set it private if you want. Now, the primary audience, I normally set it as just for school, and you can also set difficulty and descriptions. I normally don't really worry too much about the descriptions and tag. But if you do want to add tags like, what is it for, or anything like that, you can obviously add it into it. Again, description is only 140 characters you can type in. And once you're done with all that, you just press save and continue. And before you press done, here's a page of a cover image. So if you want a cover image for your quiz, you may add it as well. And you may also even add YouTube video. Okay, so as a background, when you start out the quiz, when everybody's entering their name, they can watch a YouTube video. Okay, so that is that, and I'm gonna press done. So that is done. Everything is all sorted. You can press play now straight away. You can edit again. You can preview it. So if I press preview, it will jump into another window. So it's a simulation of. So you have your phone here as a simulation, and you have a simulation of what the game will look like. So if I press launch, I can basically enter the game pin depending on what it says up here. So connecting. So 336017, enter, and apparently I tried this. If I type poop and join game, it will show up with a different name. I think it just auto filters that. So this is to show you what the game will look like on their phone. So if your student phone has got iPhone, whatever phone on the side, this is what it looks like, and this is what you're getting. So this is a preview version of what your quiz will look like if you want to give it a try before you deploy to your students. Cool? Questions? No? All right, then we'll move on. So I'm going to close this, leave this page. Another cool thing you can do here is this. Yeah. So it always has the music on. Yeah, you can share it on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Google+, email if you want. Or if you just want to email to your colleague and say, hey, I made this quiz about science, about year 12 meiosis. I can copy this URL into my email and then I can send it to everybody. If anybody wants to play it, they just press this URL and it will load up the game. So that's the cool thing about Kahoot. You can share with anyone within the department just with that. And yeah. So, yes, hi.
Hi. Can you have like 2 correct answers? Like if you're asking for 2 nothing?
Yep, you can. You can have 2 correct answers. Yep. All you have to do is under the incorrect button, you just change it to correct. Yep. Okay. If you want to access your old Kahoot, you can just press the My Kahoot button on the top over here. And I have made 103 at the moment. Well, 100, yeah. So see, I made 103, but you're wondering, how would I able to access my Kahoot? And I'm going to tell you guys really quickly. But before I do that, basically under your My Kahoots, you have all the Kahoot that you set up. So for example, I made a mitosis meiosis this year for my year 12. Next year, I want to play it again. I just go to My Kahoot and press it again, and they can play again. So you can actually use your Kahoot, each Kahoot for multiple years if you never change the questions. You can also change the questions if you want. So if I select here, I can actually go edit, delete, or duplicate. Okay, duplicate doesn't really. There's not really a point at the moment, but I'll show you guys what duplicate means. But you can definitely edit your questions if you find out there's an error that you made. So your kids go, oh, that's not the right answer. You go, okay, I remember now. I'm gonna go back to edit. I'm gonna change my answer for etc. Okay. Now, if you want to find out my Kahoot, it is very easy. All you have to do is go to public Kahoot at the top over here. And you can actually, so for example, you're running out of time and you want to just find a Kahoot to play with your kids, but you don't have time to create the questions. You can actually type in keyword, subject, tag name, or username. So if you type in my username, which is capital M R, well, small r C H A N G, you press search, and it will load up all of my 108 Kahoots that I have made. And you can only do this if you set your Kahoot as public. If you set it private, you will not able to share with anyone else. So all my Kahoot is public. That means anyone that using the public Kahoot tab over there, they will able to find my Kahoot, or they could find my Kahoot through keyword or through my username. So within your department, you might want to just share with everybody's username. So they can just go and type in each one of your username and find out Kahoots. Or another way, what we do in Netbook is that me, Wilder, and Ruby, we create one Kahoot account together, and we share that Kahoot account with each other. So we can always access each other's, build Kahoot within that account. Questions? Good. I'll show you guys one.
Sort of stock Kahoot's library
You can do a stock Kahoot library as well. So for example, all those links that you generated before each of your Kahoot, you can actually save those links and maybe pile up into one Word document for department.
And is there an actual sort of external source of Kahoots
you can potentially find, yeah. So the public Kahoot is a place where you can find. Potentially, if I want to find something about, say, photosynthesis.
Somebody else has done.
Someone else has done. I just type in photosynthesis on the public Kahoot, and it will load up anyone that put photosynthesis as a question or as a title, basically. Yeah. Now, one last thing before you guys head off. Once you find a public Kahoot and you go, wow, that's a very good Kahoot, but some of the questions are a bit difficult for my students, or some of the questions I would like to add on to it. How would you do that? So, for example, I found out this one, advanced photosynthesis. You can actually click it. Before you want to play it, you can look at the question. You go, oh, it's okay, but I think I can do better than that. What you do is you go back and you press the duplicate button, okay? So if I press the duplicate button, boom, and it will say that you have been duplicated. It will be under your Kahoot as a draft, and as a draft, what you can do is you can continue editing. So you can actually edit someone else's Kahoot if you want. So this is the Kahoot that this person made. I thought it was interesting. I duplicated it into my Kahoot, and I'm gonna edit the question because the question doesn't suit my need, for example, okay? So this is a faster way. So obviously it's 10 questions. You can go through the question and go, oh, this question is not very good. I'm gonna delete the question, for example. And I go, okay, 9 questions, I'm happy with that. All I have to do is go save, rearrange the location of my quiz if I wanted to, the questions. Press save, gonna make it public again. I'm gonna change my title, so I'm gonna go up to edit and type in Year 12 Biology, photosynthesis, save, done. And voila, you have another Kahoot in your library. That's actually coming from another person's Kahoot. It's kind of cheating, but you know, this is it's sharing, so yeah. Any questions so far? Yes?
I messed up there. How did you get to edit the question? Oh, have you got it?
Oh, edit the questions?
You've got it open, somebody else's open, how do you do it?
Yep. So I'm gonna go to public Kahoot again, I'll show you. So for example, verb tenses is the one I want, right? This is the one I want. If you go down here, there's a duplicate button, just right next to the title. If you go to public Kahoot. Yeah, and if you press the duplicate button, it will go back to your own Kahoot inbox or your Kahoot collection, and we'll say draft, duplicated of verb tense. So from that point onward, you can actually continue editing. So you can edit, yeah. So that's when you can continue editing the Kahoot that's from someone else. And yeah, cool. I think that was a very good function, to be honest. Now, other things you can do with Kahoot is that you can actually get your student to set up Kahoot questions. So I have some Year 9 students that share their Kahoot questions with me. Unfortunately, they didn't set it public; they made it private, so they had to share this with me, like personally. But basically, once they share with you, you can use their one as examples and play with other class. So this is one way for kids to learn how to set up questions, and for example. So all these are my scientific method for my Year 9 students. But that's that. And that is under share with me, if any of your students share with you. In order to share with you, they have to enter your username. So they have to enter Mr. Chan for me, and it will pop up in my share with me inbox over here. Cool? If you have any questions about Kahoot, you can always go to the FAQ button on the top, and there's some frequently asked questions. If you do have any error that pops up with Kahoot, because I think Kahoot at the moment is still beta, it is pretty mature. You still can go to support, and you can actually send a ticket to the developer. So you can say, hey, look, this error popped up when I did this, or it crashed or something. And you can press next, and you can even leave a screenshot if you want. Cool. Question? Do you guys still want to play Kahoot? Or? Yeah. One word of advice is that don't use Kahoot too often, because you actually desensitize the purpose of Kahoot, and so the kids might start just go, oh, it's Kahoot again. I never win, based on that ranking system that you get at the end. So I normally play maybe once a week or twice a week, but always at the end of a lesson. But it depends on how you want to use it. If you use it all the time, like every single lesson, they might just go, oh, nah, it's too much Kahoot. I play too much Kahoot. I don't want to do it anymore. So.
And I guess that's a problem with all of us learning how to use it, is that every class they go to, they'll be going, oh my god.
Yeah. So I would say use it wisely. Find a golden opportunity to use it with them that everybody get really into it. Potentially, like you can do say like last period of the lesson or something like that, and just play for like the last bit of the session, and everybody get really involved. Sometimes I sometimes put a reward to it. I was like, oh, whoever wins gets like a small pack of Maltesers, and they go, oh my goodness, Maltesers, and then we just all play. But it depends on how you want to set it up. But yeah, I don't really recommend start of the lesson because it does take a while to load up, like especially for students with problems with their computers or like their tablet. Go, I don't know how to go in.
I've also noticed just listening to a class doing it that it takes a while to wind down.
Yeah, it takes a while to wind down
as
as well.
Quite excited.
Yeah, some kids will be like after the
down.
some kids will be at the end of the Kahoot be like, I want to play another one, and you're like, ugh, but we want to get on with the lesson, and they're like, no, we want to do another one, and you're like, oh yeah. But if you do it at the end of the lesson, nothing beats the bell. So.